Right, we will now have the local board budget update. We'll have Mark and Michael. Hi.
Good morning. The purpose of this report through the Chair is to finalise the local budgets for 17-18. The three things we're asking today are for the release of 3 special reserve funds. These projects are in accordance with how the funds were collected under legacy councils. The second is the annual funding negotiation between the 2 island boards and the governing body. And the third is for the carry forward of OPEX funds from this year to next year. Happy to take any questions.
Councillor Simpson.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I am concerned about the list of projects that haven't been delivered by staff for local boards. They go to the trouble of putting budget aside for projects they feel are vitally important, and yet we haven't been able to deliver that.
Yes.
My question to you is, what are we doing about ensuring that this huge amount of money isn't wasted? I mean, it's carried forward, I understand, yes. but the huge amount of money that boards have, really identified as for important projects, what are we doing about ensuring that those projects, that we minimise that the projects will be delivered, that there are staff absolutely determined to deliver on the little budget that poor old local boards have in the first place, to deliver those projects and not leave an overflow from year to year, because this is simply embarrassing. We're supposed to be efficient and effective with the money we have, and yet this paper proves that we're not.
Through the Chair, a good portion of these budgets were due to the organisational reshape, and the delivery departments are determined to make sure that these are delivered in the first part of next year.
So supplementary, if I may, Mr. Chairman. So you telling me, as a result of cost savings, we haven't been able to deliver the local board priority budgets here?
That is one reason. Another reason is delays in signing of funding agreements. A couple of the larger items there are due to those negotiations being late in the year rather than early in the year.
Mr. Chairman, we've got to do better at that. We have to do better at that.
Mark, can I just ask you, the Waitakere Local Board came and made a presentation and made a plea on the $100,000 fee that they have to pay to do the 5-year Waitakere Heritage Act review. We thought there was an instruction going back that really should be covered by the governing body because it is an act of parliament. It's no different than the Gulf Forum or Te Puna Runga. So could you just confirm what we're doing there? And Councillor Holster, you want to speak first?
It might be easier. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Councillor Cooper and I have raised this as an issue of major concern. It is a regional issue that's being paid for by a very small local board, and we're required to do this report by statute. Our staff have very kindly offered to deal with this at a regional level. They agree that this is an issue that needs to be resolved so the Waitakere Local Board can breathe a sigh of relief, and the suggestion is that we deal with it in the June reorganisation of the budget. So we don't need to move or deal with anything today, but the undertaking is that it will be dealt with at that stage, and I really appreciate our finance staff undertaking to do that. Thank you.
All right, well, Councillor Casey, yes, welcome back.
It was just
Councillor
to ask some advice through the chair of our legal team with regard to the judicial review proceedings issued against both the Albert Eden Local Board and the Auckland Council with regard to Chamberlain Park, and whether this impinges upon any decision making on this item or the next or any other item today.
Okay. I'm going to... Thank you, Danny.
Through the Chair, we have considered whether the application for judicial review filed in relation to the Albert Eden Local Board's decisions on Chamberlain Park, served on us 2 days ago, affects any decisions to be made by the Finance and Performance Committee and the governing body today with respect to the annual plan, or on the 29th of June. The judicial review proceedings does not affect these decisions. That is because the judicial review challenges a number of decisions in relation to a change of use of Chamberlain Park, and there are no budget decisions relating to that project before you. The local board feedback report notes that the local board will be advocating for this project in their local board plan and leading into the long-term plan, but the budget decisions can proceed despite those proceedings being filed. And I have emailed you or through Mike this morning to that effect.
Okay, missed that. Thank you. That's great. Very good. Thank you.
Right, well, there doesn't seem to be any questions on this. Maybe we'll be finished by 11 o'clock.
Hope springs eternal.
Councillor Cooper, sorry.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just a question on the ability for Great Barrier and Waihi to negotiate annually, the LDI, where the rest of the local boards, basically, it's fixed on population. Can we just understand a little bit who goes through those negotiations and how that you come out with these numbers? Because it is, it seems to me it'll be variable every year, whereas with the other local boards we've got a formula and it's easy to track, but also, just noting, the other boards have no room for very little room for negotiation, where we have two that can.
We have, I notice Mr. Kimpton's not here, nor is Jazz, who's the procurement manager, but, sorry?
Mr. Kimpton's here.
Oh, Dean is here, so we'll just ask Dean to enlighten us on this, but it was obviously, while he's coming up, it was obviously done in order to give more flexibility on those islands rather than, and using local contractors rather than having people coming from the mainland effectively. But Dean, do you want to comment? Mark, sorry.
Through the Chair, these amounts that are being asked for were imposed by the Arts, Culture and Events Department for their staffing support to the boards. These are coming from their discretionary money but are not by nature discretionary, which is why we're asking for these two amounts. As to the policy, the 95-5, 90% population, 5% deprivation, 5% land area doesn't fit for the two boards, which is why they get to negotiate annually.
I understand they have a huge head of population, much more than other local boards, but so it isn't from a procurement locally delivered contracts, it's our own departments that are asking for this money?
Yes, so if
Go up the garden path there, yes, because that relates to something else, which is the P17 reports.
And is this possibly because we've been asking for savings in other areas, our units have had to find money in other places?
no, this is not due to that.
Okay, well, it's still a mystery to me, but thank you, Mr. Chairman, for allowing me to question. Thank you.
Councillor Collins.
Question and comment, Sue, or just questions?
Both, because you're the last speaker at this stage.
Oh, thanks, Sue. Well, I'll start with the comment. Sue, I wanted to pick up off Councillor Simpson's questions because I note that there are 11 projects in my ward that have in progress, haven't been completed, that appear on this list of projects that have been deferred, which disappoints me. My question is, at what stage are the local boards being updated? Is it appearing on their forward work program so that they know and are aware that these projects aren't happening in the financial year that they were supposed to happen?
Through the Chair, these projects were put before the boards and resolved in May, so they are aware of those. And at the earliest chance in July, we will update the work programs and present those to boards.
Thanks. My comment was, sir, that I'm very disappointed that there are 11 projects in my ward that have been deferred, and I would like to see progress quickly on those projects. I've been in discussion with both chairs who are disappointed that it doesn't happen, and I understand that there are some issues around making sure that they do happen, but the fact is they haven't, and we've got to do better, and I want to endorse the views that Councillor Simpson has.
Thank you, Councillor Collins. Right, I'm looking for a mover and a seconder. This item, Councillor Simpson, Councillor Hulse, very good. All those in favour?
Aye.
Against? None against. Thank you. Right, thank you, Mark. Thank you, Michael. Right, we'll go to the local board feedback rather than the budget update, and we have Karen and Anna.